Hi, Mark McNutt here, and I'm happy to enjoy the spring weather and all the redness of Sun and Moon in Aries, and as well as Mercury and Venus right now, all in Aries, and the and the tiny planet Eris as well. So what we're looking at is at the new moon in Aries. It's the first full lunation in the spring. In other words, the astrological year starts at 0 degrees Aries, or the spring equinox, March 20th, in the northern hemisphere. And then what happens is we have the first new moon, whenever it is the time of new inspiration and the time of really feeling the fire. So inspiration means to put the fire in, and so does pyramid. So there's the internal focus. Focus actually means to focus the fires too. And so what's going to happen is first we're going to have this inspiration now and the igniting of the new energy, all the excitement of spring and everything that means in our bodies and also in our psyches. And then also the planets are then going to move Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, move right into Taurus, and we'll be talking about that as a strong player in the here and now. So at this time every month when we're having these lunations, new moons, what's happening is there's a concentration of planets, and this is all concentrated about Aries at this time, but strong conjunction with Venus, which is very good for social life and outreach and that sort of thing, and also a strong square with Pluto, which also means Pluto square Venus, which could be breakups and could be changing, redefining your relationship and having that heart-to-heart talk. And so this is going, whatever happens in the new moon affects us all month long. So, yeah, so we're having, there's a lot of planets in Aries right now. As we go into the new moon, the sun is in Aries, the moon at the new moon is always the same in Aries. Venus in Aries conjunct sun and moon, which is a really good portent, and Mercury also there. There's also the tiny planetoid Eris, which I'll go into in a little bit. So, new moon in Aries, as I mentioned, it's the start point of the spring, and Aries is symbolized by the first sprouts of spring, and we'll show you with the Aries symbol, hopefully. And so it's a new beginnings. It's a new start here in the northern hemisphere, where most astrological systems were created. As the year goes on, we have the seed goes into a more stabilized point under Taurus, and then reaches out to its community in Gemini, and then gets the roots watered with Cancer, and full flower and Leo, full expression. Virgo starts the seeding process into Libra, into the second half, to balance with the year. So I look forward to this every year. I'm also a farmer and I'm off grid, so the light half of the year is very meaningful to me. So we're looking at on the night of April 11th, 7:30 p.m. West Coast time, we're having a new moon in Aries, and right now as I speak, it's a dark moon in Aries. There's the balsamic phase, really brings sort of the completion and the composting of old, and then what happens is the new moon creates the new shoots, the new inspiration. Now, the beauty of that, getting fired up. We've been looking at this after, pandemic time, and we're all excited to move on beyond that. The infection rates are going up right now because people are tired of being hunkered down. We want to reach out, and that's natural with this time of year. And so at the new moon, it's a time to set new intentions, to feel your inspiration. It's not an intellectual thing of setting new intentions. It's like, what does that feel like in you? What excites you? What gets you inspired at this time? Because what's going to happen is we're going to have the planets that are in Aries now, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, are all going to move into Taurus. New moon in Taurus almost immediately this weekend, and then the other three one after another. So first I'll talk about what's going on at the new moon, and then I'll build it into the next few weeks. In addition to the sun and moon in Aries, the planet Venus is also nearby to the sun, so therefore you can't see it, and it's shifting from the morning star to the evening star also, which is pretty interesting at this time period. And the Venusian energy is about love, it's about pleasure, it's about social connection and all that. So this would be a natural time, forget about the pandemic for just a moment, this would be the natural time for making new connections and for the excitement of new potential. So that's in the air, and then of course we have to be safe and all this other stuff. But Sun conjunct Venus at the new moon, while Venus shines her light in us in a way that really inspires us to want to reach out and find connections with others, to make relationships. People associate Venus with love relationships and with romance, all true, but it's all social relationships. So these are going to be enhanced at this time period. Then Mercury also in Aries. Mercury is about new ideas, new inspirations, and what's going to happen is, I like to do these at the new moon because that's a new beginning time, but the lunations, the new moons, have all been at the end of the signs lately. So actually, this is a lot about Taurus as well. Moving into Taurus in just a moment, but should I yes, I need to talk about Aries. There's a tiny planetoid. You know, there's exoplanets, there's planets that are not recognized by science, and Pluto just got a demotion a few years ago, and then there, because it didn't weigh enough. But us astrologers look at, all the planetary forms are affecting us. And so there's a tiny planetoid, Aries, E-R-I-S, not Eros, and Aries is was named after the goddess of discord, the one that rolled the apple into the party, causing the she wasn't invited to the party, so she put the golden apple in, and then it was like for the fairest, and that basically ended up causing the Trojan War, as history and mythology goes. The planet Aries is about discord, it's about a shaking up and about an agitation. It's been really paramount lately. A lot of last fall we had retrograde Mars conjunct Aries. Over the last year and over this year we're having Pluto in square with Aries. So a lot of moving and shaking towards discord and towards renewal. The beauty of that, there's a beauty with the breakdown of that, and that beauty is in the ability to start anew and to release ourselves from old forms. So all of you that are waiting for the pandemic to get over and then we're going to go back, it's like we're not going back. You can't go back any more than you can go back to being reborn, or to, to mend the egg that's cracked or whatever. We want to use this energy. We want to use it to move forward. So then what happens is, so we've been experiencing the discord, the shaking up, the earthquakes. The most wonderful thing about an earthquake is if you've been planning to remodel your house and then suddenly your roof caves in and the walls and so forth, you're set up really well to clean up the mess and move into a new phase of redesigning your house. And that's where we're at. And so the Aries phase, which goes on till 420, has to do with the new inspiration of spring, and then it shifts into Taurus. Sun goes into Taurus. Mercury and Venus on, I think, the 17th and 19th of April, and they all catch up with the planet Uranus. Now Uranus is in Taurus, and it's rolling on its side and spinning backwards as it always does, rebelling against everybody and everything. And in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus is very bullheaded, very stubborn, very strong energy. We've been experiencing the energy of Saturn in square with Uranus a lot of the winter months, which we're seeing the old way of doing things and the new way, clashing and arm wrestling. a lot of this in politics. Uh, the new is going to win out. That's the first thing I should tell you about that. Going back to the past, it's sort of like squeezing the last lifeblood out of an old system, but going into a new way is really significant. So they've been going through Uranus square Saturn, Saturn being in Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius goes on for 2.5 years, and uh, Saturn is about fundamentals, grounding, security, definition of form, and it's in the planet of the mind, of new ideas, of new inspiration. A lot of times people associate Aquarian energy with progressive energy, and I'm like, yeah, progressive like Ronald Reagan, Dick Cheney, Sarah Palin, you know. Um, Aquarian energy is very idealistic, and that idealism needs to be rooted in earth for it to grow roots. So very much the metaphor of growing your plants is very much in play right now. It's a fertile time when the planets move into Aries, and what happens is one after another, and I don't want to run it all down because that would be the next 10 minutes, but between April 20th and April 30th, Sun, Mercury, Venus all move into Taurus and also conjunct Uranus. So conjunct means same place, right? And even though we can't see it, there isn't a big sky show there, particularly because the sun's there. It's going to blot out Mercury and Venus. You're not going to see anything. But what's really, there's a fundamental change going on, and Uranus has to do with the unusual, eccentric, unforeseen. So I don't like to make predictions about what's going to happen anytime Uranus is involved. Uh, the reason for that being that it's always something out of the box. For myself, for example, in the last year, I could see I'd have um, Uranian aspects that said I was going to have a wild time with finances. Well, that was true, but the pandemic allowed me to not spend any money, and yet people are wondering what's going on. So, in other words, the prediction might have been for money drying up, but yet the opposite happened. And this is what I've seen with a lot of Uranian aspects for people. It's always out of the blue, eccentric. The phrase, let's see, I didn't expect that. That's another one. Or this funny thing happened, or whatever. So the second half of this month, well, shall I say, no, the last week of this month, boom, 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 thing after thing. We're just going to see a lot of shifts, probably big shifts in the stock market. If you're looking to undo something and redo it, boy, this is the time for that. And you probably aren't even thinking about the things that need redoing at this time. It's just going to shift. Um, uh, it reminds me of the Carlos Castaneda and Don Juan, and Don Juan would always say, use death as an advisor. Basically, compared to death, everything else is minuscule. So there's extreme movements that are going to happen, not so much at the new moon, but in the last few days, the last week of the month of April. I'm looking forward to it, and basically, for myself, it would be, get some popcorn and get a drink and watch the movie happen, because it's going to unfold. I'm going to be sequestered here in my own little eco environment, and I know that there's going to be external things that are out of my control that are going to affect my life. I'm ready for that, and I'm just bracing myself for the change. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think most people I advise, that would be a pertinent detail. Now, for right now, because there's a concentration of planets in Aries in one place and in one part of the sky, what we're seeing is, people who are born at the tail end of Capricorn, tail end of Cancer, or tail end of Libra, there's a stress point around that. And then if you were born at like the tail end of fire signs, Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius, it would be a real springboard to be moving forward. Um, And then what happens is that shifts very suddenly. So again, the April 20 somethings, what's going to happen is the planets moving into an Earth sign is going to be really good for fundamentals, for commitment, for grounding, for making projects real on Earth plane. And so that's a good time for new endeavors. That's a good time for excitement. I'm a little wary about how that affects the stock market and things like that, because it's going to be something unforeseen, not going as planned, that's going to transform all of our lives. What is that? It's well, you could get a reading, and we could focus on it for you. It's very inappropriate to make a generalistic statement that's going to cover everybody as far as that goes, and that's why we do readings, because your makeup might be, just being born 12 hours different than someone else on the same day. I'm born the day after John Travolta. My life is very different from him, even though we shared, hospital nursery room. Anyway, so it's each individual, and particularly with all this Aries energy, each individual road is very different. Energy follows intention, and that also means that what we've been projecting, we're going to see it reflected back to us as well. Okay, so Pluto and the planet Aries are in square all this year. Pluto is also in square right now with the Sun and Moon in Aries and with Venus and so forth. So short term, I'm telling you, good time to reach out in terms of relationships, but also expect structural changes. Probably a lot of people breaking up now. And then moves into Taurus. Taurus is very stabilizing. And it's going to be a few weeks before the fairy dust lands and we can see what's going on our Earth plane. So be diligent, root, ground, plant those plants, water them, water your seeds, particularly the more fire there is, the more water you need, the more earth there is, the more air that you need also to circulate. Mars is moving into Cancer. That's going to be good for home, family, caring, nurturing. Pluto's starting its retrograde, and Pluto, as it goes retrograde, when a planet is stationary and not moving, when they're starting retrograde or coming out of it, the energy is like a not a movie, but like a still life. And so Pluto stationary like it is right now can be really kind of oppressive to people, because they can feel the transformation in the air, and yet it moves so slow. Yeah, and so this happens also in the fall, and it happens every year, and it really affects us. So expect great movement over the next few weeks. Yeah, reminding all my video viewers to hit the like button, but even better, remember to subscribe to Aries News. And in addition to that, and actually most important to me, is get a reading, because then I can wax eccentric and really tune into you as a person. And that's a way that I show respect to other people, to really tune in with them. So thank you for your support, and be sure to subscribe to Aries News.